It seems like yesterday that the world lost Paul Walker, who was known and loved for his role as Brian O'Connor in the Fast and Furious movie series. His untimely and unbelievable death in a car accident on November 30th, 2013, left fans and everyone in the film fraternity in shock. Paul Walker was much more than just an actor in Hollywood, a philanthropist, a dad, and an individual whose life was full of undeniable passion for speed, adventure, and giving back. It's been years since his passing, and the world has continued to celebrate his life and legacy. The Fast Furious family has not stopped remembering him. The movies have included farewell-like scenes wherever possible. Fans on social media and in other parts of the world have done their part to keep his spirit alive. But through all of this, there has been complete or near silence from one person, Paul's daughter, Meadow Walker. Meadow, who was only 15 when she lost her father, has mostly shunned the limelight, focusing instead on personal healing and work related to the Paul Walker Foundation, which is concerned with the conservation of oceans and wildlife. Over the years, she has shared bits of her life and her bond with her dad on social media, but never really spoken about the effect of her father's death, until now. In this video, we take a closer look at Meadow Walker's announcement, one that has caught the world by surprise but is, at the same time, deeply moving. For the first time in a decade, Meadow speaks candidly about the loss of such a great father, growing up without him, and what she has learned from his life and legacy. Meadow doesn't just enlighten the audience with her journey, her words offer a greater understanding of who Paul Walker was as a father and as a motto. Meadow speaking out is a powerful and important moment not just for Paul Walker's fans, but for all those who have lost someone they loved. Her message is one of strength and resilience, and it's about keeping their values and passions alive. We take a deep look into Meadow's revelations as we also follow the long-lasting legacy of Paul Walker, the impression he left on his inner circle, and how that memory continues to inspire people around the world. Join us as we celebrate the life of Paul Walker, retell his story through the eyes of his daughter, and give you the real emotional truth behind the headlines, a story about love, loss, and the unbreakable bond between a father and his little girl, a story that reminds all of us to enjoy every second with our loved ones. Early life. Before Paul Walker became a face associated with the Fast Furious franchise and an international star, he had grown up just like any other boy in Southern California, living a life that foreshadowed his future in the limelight. Born on September 12, 1973, in Glendale, California, Paul William Walker IV was the first of 5 children. His parents, Cheryl, a fashion model, and Paul Walker III, a sewer contractor and former amateur boxer, provided a strong foundation for what would become an extraordinary life. The values instilled and the lifestyle maintained in his family marked Paul's early life. His mother's career in the fashion world meant that young Paul was thrust early into the world of modeling. He started appearing in commercials and advertisements at the age of 2. This experience set the base for a future in the entertainment business. But Paul's interests spanned much more than just modeling and acting. Growing up in the sun-drenched neighborhoods of Southern California, Paul developed a strong attachment to the ocean and the outdoors. His childhood days were full of surfing, swimming, and exploring nature, cultivating a lifelong passion for the environment and marine life. This bond with nature became quite important in his later philanthropic efforts, mainly through his work with the Paul Walker Foundation. Although Paul had been in the limelight since he was young, his journey to stardom was not smooth. He attended Village Christian School in Sun Valley as a teenager, where he was remembered as a laid-back guy interested primarily in sports, soccer, and surfing. After completing high school, Paul spent some time attending community colleges in Southern California, focusing on marine biology simply because he found the ocean fascinating and close to his heart. Early career and rise to fame. The story of Paul Walker becoming one of Hollywood's most beloved stars is one of talent, perseverance, and a deep love for the craft. Long before he joined the adrenaline-fueled Fast Furious franchise, Walker was just another young actor trying to make his mark within a fiercely competitive industry. His rise to fame shows that he was a hard worker, versatile, and had that special touch that moves audiences worldwide. Paul William Walker IV was born on September 12, 1973 in Glendale, California. His family had a background in modeling and acting. His mother, Cheryl, was a fashion model, so exposure to the entertainment industry began at early age in his childhood. He started modeling as early as a toddler and appeared in commercials for Pampers, showing an early charisma in front of the camera. By his early teens, Walker had moved from commercials to television, landing guest appearances on Highway to Heaven, Who's the Boss, and Charles and Charles and Charles. These were small roles but provided valuable experience and paved a good platform for his future acting career. It was clear that Walker was very comfortable in front of the camera, and as he grew older, he began pursuing more substantial roles. Television and film breakthrough. In 1986, Walker got his breakthrough role, starring in the low-budget horror comedy movie Monster in the Closet. Although the film was unsuccessful in attracting a massive audience, it helped Walker finally break into the film industry. He would add to his resume guest spots on TV shows such as The Young and the Restless, playing the character Brandon Collins, a role that earned him his first bit of recognition and fan following from those who watched soap operas at the time. In the mid-1990s, Walker began transitioning to film. He guest starred in the films Tammy and the T-Rex in 1994 and Meet the Deedles in 1998. Although neither film was a box office smash, they both provided valuable experience and further showcased another dimension of acting styles that Walker was capable of. It wasn't until his role in the 1999 film Varsity Blues that Walker started to gain much notice in Hollywood. Centered on high school football in a small Texas town, the movie was an unexpected success and became one of those cultural touchstones for many teens during that time. Walker's performance as Lance Harbor, the star quarterback, epitomized the complexity of a young man dealing with pressures in sports and fame. This role projected his acting career into the mainstream limelight, leading to bigger, more famous roles in larger productions. Fast and Furious phenomenon. The year 2001 marked a major career milestone for Paul Walker with the release of The Fast and the Furious. His character, Brian O'Connor, was an undercover cop who became part of the illegal street racing world. This role, along with co-star Vin Diesel, solidified Walker as one of the franchise's central figures. The film, which successfully merged high-octane action with a storyline of loyalty and family, resonated with audiences and became a box office smash, raking in upwards of $200 million worldwide. The Fast and the Furious marked the beginning of one of the most successful film franchises in cinema history, and Walker would reprise the role in numerous sequels. His character's journey from a young, ambitious lawman to a beloved hero explored the themes of loyalty, family, and redemption, which were central to the series. The on-screen chemistry between Walker and Vin Diesel, along with the ensemble cast, further cemented the franchise's popularity. Walker's appearance in the Fast Furious franchise solidified his status as an action star while also allowing him to explore emotional and dramatic roles within the series. As the franchise escalated, so did Walker's reputation as an actor who could handle both the physical demands of action scenes and the emotional weight of the storylines. This dual ability made him an audience favorite and a key factor in the overall success of the franchise, as he possessed both real charisma and authenticity. A great father, Paul Walker had a very good and loving relationship with his daughter, Meadow Rain Walker. She was the center of his life away from the cameras in Hollywood. Meadow was born on November 4, 1998, and she was Paul Walker's only child. He loved being her father. Their bond was characterized by deep affection and mutual understanding, which grew stronger as Meadow got older. In the early years of Meadow's life, Paul had to juggle his burgeoning career as a professional actor with being a young father. No matter the demands Hollywood made on him, he was very vocal about always placing Meadow at the top of his list. In interviews, Paul often spoke about how fatherhood changed him, grounded him, and gave him a new perspective on life. He confessed that, as much as he loved acting, nothing compared with the joy of being Meadow's dad. This relationship between Paul and Meadow became even closer when she relocated from Hawaii, where she lived with her mother, to California, placing her near her father. This move took place in her early teenage years, around age 13, and marked a turning point in their relationship. Paul embraced this opportunity, becoming a full-time dad, and their bond grew even closer. They both loved the ocean and spent many days surfing, an activity Paul taught her. Paul was an overprotective and very caring father. He mostly kept Meadow out of the limelight to give her a normal childhood and protect her from the media glare. Despite all the fame, Paul was determined to keep his daughter away from the frustrations of being a celebrity's child so that she could grow up in a warm and loving environment. Their relationship was more than just a father-daughter bond, they were best friends. Paul often referred to her as his best friend, and it was clear that their connection was exceptionally strong. In an interview, he once said that being a father was the quintessential role in his life, and that raising Meadow was one of his proudest achievements. He spoke of how much he had learned from her and how she inspired him to be a better person, the accident that ultimately led to his death. The death of Paul Walker on November 30th, 2013, was indeed one of the saddest and most shocking moments, not only in Hollywood history but also worldwide. As the leading protagonist in the Fast Furious series, Paul Walker embodied the role of Brian O'Connor in the franchise. He was more than an actor, he was a philanthropist, a car enthusiast, and a beloved figure in the eyes of his fans and peers. His sudden, violent death in a car accident left the world in a trance of disbelief and mourning. Walker was attending a charity event for his organization, Reach Out Worldwide, a nonprofit that provides relief efforts to areas hit by natural disasters. The fundraiser, hosted in Santa Clarita, California, aimed to attract funds for Typhoon Haiyan relief efforts in the Philippines. During a break in the event, Walker and his friend Roger Rodas, a professional driver and fellow car enthusiast, decided to take a ride in Rodas' 2005 Porsche Carrera GT. The car was extremely powerful and fast, and the two friends set off for what should have been a short drive. Tragically, the drive ended in disaster. Less than 10 minutes after leaving the charity event, the Porsche, in which Walker was a passenger, smashed into a concrete lamp post and two trees before bursting into flames. The crash was so violent that both Walker and Rodas were killed on impact. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and the California Highway Patrol reported that speed was a major factor in the crash. The car was estimated to have been traveling at a speed between 80 and 93 miles per hour in a 45-mile-per-hour zone. News of Walker's death sent shockwaves across the globe. Fans, friends, and colleagues were shaken by the loss of a man who, besides being at the height of his career, was deeply involved in charitable work and humanitarian efforts. Among those most affected, the Fast Furious co-stars were visibly devastated, as many of them had become like family to Walker. Vin Diesel, who played one of Walker's character's best friends, even proclaimed him his brother in the movies and continued to do so, even after his death. Tributes to the actor began pouring in within days of the accident on social media. Fans gathered at the accident site, leaving flowers, candles, and cards in memory of the actor. It was during this time that the Fast Furious franchise, now forever tied to Walker's career, faced the overwhelming task of continuing without one of its core stars. The seventh film in the series was already in production when Walker died. It was delayed as filmmakers and cast grappled with the loss. Ultimately, Chi and stand-ins helped complete the film, including Walker's brothers filling in to complete his remaining scenes. That sequence became his most memorable scene in the Furious 7 film series. More than for his fame in Hollywood, Paul Walker was remembered as a soft-hearted and humble man who used his success to make a difference in the world. He was not only a great loss to the film industry, but also to the many lives impacted through his charity work. A decade later, his legacy remains very much alive through the films he acted in, the foundation named for him, and the many hearts his life and career inspired. Meadow Walker's life post-tragedy. Meadow Walker's life took a different path when her father died suddenly in a car crash on November 30th, 2013. Just weeks after turning 15, Meadow was left to confront the harsh reality of grieving at a very young age. This loss occurred at a time when she had just moved to California to stay with her father full-time, and they were in the process of making memories and strengthening their bond. The sudden and tragic loss shattered Meadow's world, leaving her to navigate life without her father's guidance. Right after her father's death, Meadow was overwhelmed with grief and heartbreak. She had just begun to experience the joy of waking up each day to her father's presence, and his sudden absence left a deep void. Paul was more than just a parent. He was Meadow's best friend and confidant, someone she turned to for guidance, love, and support. The tragedy brought her face to face with the reality of living without the anchor that had held her steady. Despite the immense tragedy, Meadow showed great strength. Where many in her situation might have struggled publicly, Meadow chose a path of quiet reflection and healing. She withdrew from public view, avoiding the intense media scrutiny that often follows high-profile tragedies. This allowed her to process her emotions privately and at her own pace without being burdened by public expectations. During this time, Meadow found solace in her memories of her father and everything he had taught her. She channeled the pain of losing him into actions that kept his memory alive, things that were meaningful to her personally and would have been important to Paul. One of the most significant steps she took in this regard was establishing the Paul Walker Foundation in 2015. This organization was created to continue her father's passion for ocean and wildlife conservation, as well as his commitment to humanitarian causes. The foundation's mission to protect oceans and wildlife, causes that were very dear to Paul, became central to Meadow's life. Through the foundation, Meadow immortalized her father and emerged as a philanthropist and environmental advocate. She continued to uphold and extend the foundation's work in such a way that Paul's legacy would leave a lasting impact on the world. In this work, she found meaning and a way to hold on to her father. In addition to her work with the foundation, Meadow has slowly started to share more about her father's influence on her. A very private person during her bereavement, she has recently begun sharing glimpses of her relationship with Paul on social media, allowing fans and followers to see the bond they shared. Many of her posts reflect the deep respect and love she has for her dad, as well as the pain of his sudden loss. By making these public tributes, Meadow has allowed others to see a more personal side of Paul Walker, one that most people did not know. Paul. Later in life, Meadow continued to uphold the values her dad instilled in her. She remained down to earth, living a life that honored her father's memory, sometimes even sharing how much Paul continues to guide her decisions and outlook on life. Meadow's journey through grief demonstrated her strength and resilience, revealing her to be an empathetic young woman determined to tapes. In many ways, Meadow Walker's life has been about finding ways to live in the shadow of a deep tragedy, while still moving forward with purpose and hope. She turned her pain into a driving force for her passion for philanthropy, ensuring that her father's legacy would live on through meaningful actions and contributions to the world. Meadow Walker breaks her silence. On the 10th anniversary of Paul Walker's death, his daughter Meadow Walker broke her long and sustained silence over the deep loss of her dad. It was a stunning and deeply emotional moment. Meadow had remained out of the spotlight since Paul's passing, paying homage to his memory through her private life and charitable work. Her decision to speak out now, after grieving in silence for a decade, moved fans and the public alike to tears and reflection. The timing of Meadow's words held special poignancy. It was the 10th anniversary of Paul Walker's death, a milestone that surely reignited painful memories of his loss for those close to him, and within the collective mourning shown by his fans, who have admirably appreciated his work. Perhaps Meadow had reached a point in her journey where she felt ready to finally share her experience of loss and healing with the world. Indeed, revisiting the difficult emotions she has encountered since her father's passing would have required great courage. Meadow narrated the personal struggles she faced after losing her dad at such a tender age. She spoke of the overwhelming grief and the difficulty of growing up without a father's guidance and presence. To Meadow, who was 15 when Paul died, the loss was not just that of a parent but also of a best friend. Her words conveyed the depth of her pain and the challenges of navigating life's milestones without her father by her side. The most impactful part of Meadow's statement was her emphasis on the memories she shared with her father. She recalled the special bond they had, the lessons he taught her, and the cherished moments that continue to comfort her today. She said these memories have given her the strength to go on after his death and fill the huge void left by his absence. Meadow's memories of Paul Walker evoked a sense of nostalgia, not only for the action hero that millions loved, but also for the devoted and caring father who spent quality time with his daughter. She spoke about how she has kept her father's legacy alive, which has guided much of her work over the years since his passing. She described her efforts as a way to keep his spirit alive by carrying forward the values and passions that Paul instilled in her. Through the Paul Walker Foundation, which she founded in 2015, Meadow has managed to continue her father's work in ocean and wildlife conservation causes that were very dear to Paul. The emotional impact of Meadow's statement. Meadow Walker's decision to speak about her late father, Paul Walker, almost a decade after his passing, deeply touched fans and the public alike. In an emotional statement, she shared her private journey, giving new insight into who Paul Walker was beyond his on-screen persona. Her words created a tidal wave of reflection that drew fans closer to the man they admired and delivered an incredibly powerful message on loss, healing, and legacy. When Meadow Walker broke her silence, the response was immediate and emotional. Fans of Paul Walker, who had always loved him for his humility and kindness, found themselves relating even more to his legacy. Meadow's words provided a glimpse into the private life of a man who, despite his fame, remained a dedicated father above all else. Her statement received overwhelming support and empathy from fans worldwide, reflecting the timeless love for Paul Walker and admiration for Meadow's strength in mustering the courage to share her story. Social media became an avenue for fans to express their emotions, sharing their own experiences of loss and how Paul Walker had inspired them in their lives. Tributes began to pour in, with messages of support for Meadow, and the hashtag Remembering Paul Walker started trending. This outpouring of support reminded everyone who had followed Paul's career of the human element behind the Hollywood star, a man dedicated to his family, living with integrity and compassion. Meadow's statement did more than just reflect her sense of loss. It added a new perspective on Paul Walker that few people knew. While he was the suave actor from the Fast Furious movies to the world, Meadow's words spoke of him as a deeply caring father who was involved in her life. She spoke of the values he instilled in her, his love for the ocean, and his passion for its conservation, all central to his life but often obscured by his Hollywood persona. Through Meadow's eyes, the world could see Paul Walker as a man who loved his daughter more than anything else in the world. She shared vulnerable moments about how her father's death forced her to grow up quickly and learn to navigate a world without his guidance. This new perspective made fans appreciate Paul's character even more, not only as an actor but especially as a father who left such a lasting imprint on his daughter's heart. Meadow's statement reaches beyond personal emotional depth. She shared a pain that many others have experienced, the loss of a loved one. Her words remind us all that there is healing to be found, and that the passing of a loved one can give new meaning to our lives. Meadow's resilience over the past decade and her courage in speaking out now are testaments to the fact that time and reflection can heal even the deepest wounds. Much of Meadow's message is about keeping the memory of loved ones alive. This is well represented by the Paul Walker Foundation, which she started in memory of her dad, and through which she continues his passions and work. The foundation's focus on ocean and wildlife conservation is an extension of Paul's love for the environment, and Meadow has ensured that his legacy lives on to make a difference in the world. Her statement will be very motivational to those who have lost someone. It projects the strength of cherishing their memory and using it as a force for good. Meadow delivers a message of hope, resilience, and timeless love, one that continues to guide her through her days. Paul Walker's legacy. The late actor Paul Walker left behind much more than the sum of his roles in cinema. His legacy is the profound impact he had on his fans, fellow actors, and the movie industry as a whole. Best known for his starring role as Brian O'Connor in the Fast Furious film series, Walker made a mark that went beyond his acting persona. Most notably, it was his commitment to making a difference in the world reflected in his charity work, especially in ocean conservation, that showed he truly cared. He was an accessible, kind, and dedicated man whose sudden death is still strongly felt by many today. The most noted way Walker has been memorialized is through the Fast and Furious franchise. The franchise paid an emotional tribute to him upon his passing. In Furious 7, the movie combined a little seed with the appearance of Walker's brothers, Caleb and Cody, filling in the gaps for his unfinished scenes. More than anything else, it was the emotional goodbye scene that paid a true tribute to Walker, serving as an epitaph to what he had brought to the franchise and as a poignant farewell from his on-screen family. The imprint of his memory continues to be felt in the later films of this franchise through subtle gestures and acknowledgments that his character lives on in spirit throughout the series. Walker's legacy lives on, profoundly carried forward by his daughter, Meadow Walker. She has ensured that through the Paul Walker Foundation, her father's commitment to conservation remains on course to make a real difference. The foundation works on the protection of the ocean and wildlife causes very close to Paul's heart. It shows that his impact goes beyond professional achievements and extends into addressing real-world problems and inspiring meaningful work related to the environment. Meadow has also made public tributes to her father through social media and interviews, keeping his memory alive. Her reflections provide a personal view for fans of the man behind the character, away from his public persona, thus reinforcing the depth of his character and the love he had for his family. These efforts by the Fast Furious family and Meadow Walker ensure that Paul Walker's legacy remains intact to enlighten future generations. Meadow Walker, stepping forward now, a decade later, shows that sometimes people just need a little time to create something very special, a powerful homage to the enduring impact her father had on people and an expression of her gathering strength from within her grief. Her emotional revelations offer much more than a glimpse into her struggle, pointing to a profound loss that still affects those who knew Paul Walker the most. Paul Walker's legacy is built on magnificent contributions to the film industry, coupled with his dedication to humanitarian causes, which continue to inspire to this day. Although his role in Fast Furious made him immortal, he will also be remembered for his kind heart and tireless work in protecting the ocean and wildlife. Through Meadow's efforts with the Paul Walker Foundation, his passion for making a difference in the world lives on, Meadow's story reverberates amid the powerful bonds of loved ones, the memories that stay with us, and a life that leaves behind permanent imprints. We are reminded that every moment we share with our loved ones should be cherished, as life can take unexpected turns at any moment. Meadow's courage in sharing her story teaches us about resilience and how best to celebrate a loved one's memory through meaningful deeds and continuous action in the pursuits they loved.